Hey guys, how you doing? Hope you're doing okay. Instead of reading through every last word of the article, I'm going to give you an overview of the situation, and then we'll just have a look at some choice aspects within the article to make sure I get all of the details correct. It is a very tragic situation. A 17-year-old boy from Michigan, his name is Jordan John DeMay. Essentially, he was blackmailed. A term used is sextortion. So what happened was he was on Twitter. He was flirting with a girl. As far as we understand, this is not a girl from his high school or anything like that. Flirting with a girl, a girl's profile, let me mention. And the girl sent him a nude photo of herself, or perhaps a sexy photo of herself. And Jordan followed suit. He replied and he forwarded a nude photo of himself, at which point the conversation with this so-called girl changed significantly. The girl from the Twitter profile all of a sudden dropped the facade and was blackmailing Jordan, saying to Jordan that she, or rather they, seeing as it's apparent at this point that it wasn't necessarily a girl at all, it was likely a professional organized crime member or such, a catfish, purposefully blackmailing Jordan at this point, demanding that he pay $300 or the catfisher will release the nude photo to all of his social media contacts. So an incredibly shocking and scary situation for Jordan to be in. 1 minute he's flirting with a girl, the next minute, he's at risk of having personal details about himself sent to all of his friends, his family, his parents, his schoolmates. I would imagine that he feels horrible, just like shockingly let down, shockingly embarrassed, scared, fearful. So he pays $300, at which point the blackmailers turn around and demand $1,000. 17-year-old Jordan says, okay, you win, I'm going to kill myself. And apparently the catfishers said, go on then. And subsequently he did. He died within 6 hours of the initial blackmail request. Such was the damage, such was the fear of this blackmail request. It shattered his mentality, his outlook on life. He went from a happy, healthy high schooler to someone that was, just deeply, deeply troubled in a matter of hours due to these blackmailers. Now, the parents have requested that the police release the details concerning Jordan's suicide, the reasons why he did commit suicide, because the parents want this term of sextortion, this notion of catfishing and resulting in blackmail. The parents want other people to be aware of this, especially, I guess, high school students, especially the young. You and I, if you're, well, it depends how old you are, of course, but certainly for myself, I didn't grow up in this world where we all had constant access to the internet, where we had a smartphone with half a dozen different social media apps on it or more. We didn't have the opportunity to, inadvertent commas, meet with people across the world, look at their Instagram photos, look at their Twitter profiles, etc., etc. We didn't have the opportunity to do that. These guys do. So they're at risk. All of them are at risk of being catfished, of being lied to. And unfortunately, I would say organized crime has got involved at a certain point. They've realized that they can scam. They can catfish, and it can lead to blackmail, especially if they get, in their eyes, I would imagine, a naive or a gullible high school student or young person. Perhaps they're the prime targets to be blackmailed in this fashion. A honey trap have a profile of an attractive woman, start a relationship, bit of banter, and then all of a sudden, bang, now we're talking blackmail. So it's a terrible situation. Jordan did nothing wrong at all. He's allowed to, flirt with people online. There's nothing wrong with that. He did nothing wrong at all. He's just been taken for a ride, unfortunately. We don't know who these guys are that did this. There's no suggestion that it was other students. No suggestion of that at all. Could be anywhere, anyone, anywhere in the world. Could be someone from India, Pakistan, China, Russia, Iran. Could be anyone. So regrettably, from my point of view, I would think it's extremely unlikely that the guilty parties will be found out. I think it's extremely likely that the guilty parties will continue to do this type of thing. Sextortion, this type of blackmail is going to continue. One way to protect yourself is to, and I say this for anyone really, but notably the youth, is to be anonymous. Be anonymous. Have different social media profiles that you don't share around, that aren't connected to your real life, that aren't connected to your Facebook friends and family, and it doesn't tell everyone in the world which school you went to, doesn't tell everyone every last detail about yourself. Keep yourself anonymous. So you can have public profiles, but keep anonymous profiles, when you want to be anonymous, if you want to do things and have that distance away from your real life. Having that kind of anonymity could protect you from this type of situation and other similar types of situation. If people don't know who you are, if people don't know who your employer is, your school is, your college is, your friends are, your family are, if people don't know that, then they cannot be contacted. If they do know that, if you make it very easy for people to figure that out, then there's a risk that someone gets upset at you for one reason or another, or wishes harm upon you, and they will have the opportunity to inflict harm or at least inconvenience. So unfortunately, there are plenty of weirdos out there in the world. There are plenty of weirdos out there on the internet. Everyone has to protect themselves, and I agree with the parents on this point that the investigators ought to make this public, as they have, so that there is growing awareness, so that Jordan's classmates are able to perhaps readjust how they do things online, and put in place some protection for themselves. So that's pretty much the article. I want to read a little part of this last section here, which talks a little bit about Jordan. An obituary dedicated to the teenager has described Jordan as someone who loved athletics and sports, including baseball, football, and basketball. Jordan was a compassionate, mature, and team-oriented player who once described his goal to be the best I can be as a person on and off the field. He was a determined young man who, after being sidelined for a year with a serious knee injury, made a decision to rehab himself and made plans to attend college. He leaves behind 4 sisters, his parents, and his grandparents. He had a great personality. He was loved and very devoted to his family, especially his sisters, who simply adored him. He enjoyed going to the beach, being in, on, or near the water, and was talented to the point of doing well on many of the things that he attempted. He will be remembered for his great smile, his fluffy hair, great personality, and his ability to inspire others. I mean, I have no doubt that this is a charming young man. Unfortunately, I have to say this was a charming young man. He looks like a good guy, doesn't he? Doesn't he look like a good guy? Look at that smile. He seems like a good guy, a nice guy, a friendly guy, a guy that would help someone out that would be in need. And he was at the brink of his life, just out there, just about to start his own life, and it's been taken away. Regrettably, he took his life away. He did commit suicide. That is awful. anyone that has dark feelings, suicidal thoughts, really ought to seek help, be that the Samaritans, or if you're in the UK, Lifeline in Australia, or elsewhere, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Please do seek help. Don't commit suicide. And this is just a terrible loss of life provoked by these evil scumbag blackmailers. And we've got to watch out for them, and we've got to protect ourselves individually as well as those that we know, perhaps particularly the youth. Someone's got to give them some guidance, some instruction about how best to handle social media and all that encompasses, and flirting online and meeting with people online and sexting online and doing this kind of thing online. It is a part of life, not for everybody, but for a lot of people. So let's increase the awareness about that. Let's protect each other in that regard. So I'll wrap things up. Full condolences to the family. He looks like as I say, a charming young man, a very nice young man. It would have been a pleasure to have met him, I'm sure. So commiserations, condolences to the family, to the parents, grandparents, the sisters, his schoolmates, and the community, because this is going to hurt. I'll wrap things up there, and I'll thank you for your time.